All right, guys, we're back here on Southeastern 16. Max Barr joins. Max, appreciate you holding down the fort yesterday. You're still under the weather. Chris subbed in. I was not in a good way. Still very little energy today, but we're gonna power through this.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yes, as always, we're presented by FanDuel, and we're gonna get into last night's games. There were 3 in the SEC. We'll also preview tonight's games as well, and any other takeaways, questions, comments you guys have on any other teams in the league as we get ready to head into a pretty big weekend. Obviously, the biggest slate so far on Saturday when we talk about important games and all that. So we'll get some early thoughts maybe on some of those matchups, and you'll get your previews for some of the bigger games coming up. I would say today, maybe tomorrow. We'll be TBD on that. But all right, let's get into it. Game Time Sidekicks, of course, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. Every SEC school is there. If you want to have something nice to drink out of when you're watching the games, head on over to Game Time Sidekicks. Over 350 more universities as well. Stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and the shaker cups, SE16 for 20% off over there at Game Time Sidekicks. SE16, 20% off. GameTimeSidekicks.com. All right, Max, last night, I texted you something in particular. I said, Max, Georgia has started 0 of 16 from 3. Now, I knew it wasn't going to impact the outcome of this game because I'll just be honest with you. I have no idea how the Maryland Eastern Shore Georgia Tech game was 56-52 in an overtime game on Monday because I just did not sense that Maryland Eastern Shore was going to score hardly at all in this game, the way it was kind of playing out. And so Georgia completely dominates 94-29. I think they missed their first 18 threes, something like that. They go 8 of 40 from 3. That's just one of those things that we're going to point out because that was kind of a talking point this offseason. Curious to see how the outside shooting comes into play. But 25 offensive rebounds. Maryland Eastern Shore had 31 turnovers. Some of those turnovers were just, I don't even know what to say. A pretty dominant effort here for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, the Hawks of Eastern Shore, Blake, did themselves no favors, perking up the antenna there of Mike White and company. He mentioned that result against Georgia Tech, the overtime result, really snapped into really made them to, okay, this team is not just one team that we can take lightly. They only had 1 day prep, and they took it pretty seriously, as you can see. I think, Blake, the biggest talking point obviously is going to be the shooting, but I think the biggest talking point should be the fact that the shooting was the way the shooting was and the defense is not affected. How often do we see a team not shoot well? And I know it's guys, we're talking about the opponents that we're talking about, but still, you're just taking what you can get out of these games. I love how the defensive intensity, the aggressiveness, not hitting outside shots has had no impact on Georgia's ability to play defense, to play aggressive, versatile defense. That's kind of been my main takeaway is they have not been able to hit outside shots and then get the defense set. It hasn't had a single impact. Blake, right now, Georgia through 2 games, it's only through 2 games, but right now, Georgia through 2 games is the number 1 turnover forcing defense in the country.
Yeah, Bellarmine had 22 turnovers, as we said. Maryland Eastern Shore had 31. So Georgia's gotten after it on defense. There's no question about it, giving up 59 and 29 in their first 2 games. And look, again, we always throw the context in. Sure, like Bellarmine is 318 in Ken Palm, Maryland Eastern Shore is 356. So you have to put that into perspective of just saying, all right, this is the opponent, and you should kind of go out and take care of your business. And that's what we always say, too. I'm like, hey, sometimes I can learn more from a team coming out and just drubbing a team they should drub. And otherwise, like, if you're a team that just lets teams hang around, then I don't know that I completely trust you. And Georgia said, that's not happening. We're just going to go out and take care of our business. So, again, like we said, if the shooting is still going to be something I think we look at, they were 9 of 29 from 3 in the first game. Obviously, a little bit down with that in the 8 for 40 performance in this one. And some of them were just open shots. Like, they just missed open shots. A lot of them, I would say, even were ones where it's just like guys just missing shots. And we'll see, if that just kind of picks up eventually. But yeah, I think no reason to not be impressed with Georgia to this point. Just seeing how many guys that they played too. Jake Wilkins had 16. Yeah, Jake Wilkins had 16 and 18 minutes last night. Anytime you get a Rothstein tweet, it's time to put the antenna up. Blue Cane did his thing, catchings, Wilkinson. So yeah, I put out a tweet yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, Max. I would say the most responses I got, I put out a tweet and I asked the people. I said 14 of the 16 SEC teams have played a game. This is before last night when Mississippi State and LSU joined the mix. I said, what's your biggest hot take? I got a lot of Georgia responses in that people were saying, I think people were wrong about Georgia. So we'll see if that winds up being the case, but certainly a good start for the Bulldogs. And if you look at their upcoming schedule, they get Morehead State on Sunday, and then they get Georgia Tech the following Friday. So we'll find out more about Georgia Tech perhaps then.
One guy I've really been impressed with is Cannon Catchings. And he's been a good playmaker, Blake. The first game, I know you got to take the opponent in consideration, I know, but 2 assists, no turnovers first game, 3 assists, no turnovers the second game. If you can have, a lineup out there where you've got, 6'9" Jake Wilkins at the 3, maybe Blue Cane at the 3 or something like that, and then you've got Catchings at the 4, being a playmaker at the 4, that's going to open up a little bit of things. Catchings wasn't really put into that playmaking role last year, had a much higher turnover rate than assist rate. So little situation to monitor there. It looks like Catchings has really improved his maturity on the ball. But Blake, right as we wrap up here talking about the Bulldogs, I just want to put this out there. I want to put the radar out there. We're going to start bringing up Georgia undefeated into SEC play radar talks, okay? I'm just throwing it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just putting it out there into the world for anyone to react to. But your games against top 200 opponents before SEC play, home against Georgia Tech, neutral against Xavier, who only won 66-62 against Marist. Not a bad Marist team, but still, ranked sub 70 in KenPom on a neutral. You're at Florida State, so that might be a tough one. Semi-home against Cincinnati. It's in Atlanta. That's it. Georgia Tech, Xavier, Florida State, and Cincinnati.
After Xavier, they're going to get either Clemson or West Virginia, which I think is still a winnable game.
Still.
So yeah. All right. There you go, Georgia fans. If you're watching, you know who to blame if they lose one of these games. He's already talking undefeated here. So no, but it's a good point. They're set up.
It sets up nice.
Yes, their non-conference schedule compared to others, sure. Like it seems like there's a little bit more room for them to really reel off quite a few wins here.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't know that Georgia should be going out and playing an Auburn, Alabama schedule.
Right.
I think, I have no issue with it. So, good to see them dominate these first couple games, and would probably expect more of the same against Morehead State on Sunday. Morehead State beat Midway, Max. 89-84 on Monday. Morehead State, by the way, if you're a Georgia fan, you want to keep tabs. They're at Wake Forest on Friday. So see how that one plays out there. But yes, Georgia, 2-0, and
right.
Looking pretty good so far. So we'll see how it plays out there. And Sam brought up something, too, about it's college basketball. There are no good shooters, or not many good shooters. The thing is, like, if you look at Georgia's three-point shooting, which, as we said, will be a talking point, but they've not shot better than 34% in the Mike White era from three, which has put them 174th or lower nationally. They're off to a 24.6% this season. But the thing is, if you're like, all right, well, no better than 34%, that doesn't sound good. But at the same time, it's like we always put it in the context of the SEC. Last year, the SEC in conference games shot 33.7% from three, which was 23rd out of 32 conferences, right? So that's about average, for the SEC, like shooting 34. So it's like, it's not as though, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a bad number, because it's a league where teams are going to get a lot more of their points, as we said, at the rim, and the teams that can shoot it well from three can sort of separate themselves. But it's kind of been a talking point already this season, Max. I don't know how many of those teams are going to be this year, based on some of these early performances. So
It's a new year. It's a new year.
yep, it
Can't
is.
expect the same from last.
That's right. All right, how about LSU, who
Ooh.
gets the win over Tarleton State, 96-60. I'll be honest. When I was watching the first couple minutes of this game, I was like, kind of looks like Tarleton State could match up a little bit with LSU, and then that didn't happen because LSU just kind of took off. And you want to talk about balance? Had 6 guys score between 11 and 19 points in this game. I tell you, man, it's nice to see Jalen Reed back. 11 points,
Yeah.
6 rebounds, had an assist, couple steals in 18 minutes. Guy I think he brings a different dynamic that if they'd had last season. Not saying they would have won the SEC, but I think they'd been probably an NCAA tournament type team. I just think he makes such a huge difference. Max McKinnon, 4 or 5 from 3 for 19 points, led the way for the Tigers. One of the best stats I've seen, 25 of 29 from 2. They shot 86% from 2 in this game, Max. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had 6 guys who didn't miss a single bucket from inside the arc. Dayton Thomas, his debut, 16 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Good performance, I thought, from the Tigers.
Where's the overreaction buzzer? Smash it right now. Overreaction buzzer coming in. Overreaction buzzer coming in. I love this LSU team, Blake. I love this LSU team. You guys know I love to watch the coach press conferences. You get a little bit of extra information you don't get in the beat writer write-ups and whatnot. There was a different energy from Matt McMahon in this post game. It was a much different energy than the past 2 years. He loves this team. He really, really loves his team. He went down and he was listing who got in real late in the game. It was someone that we hadn't even met, Jaden Bobbitt, 6'1" senior. We didn't even know he was a part. We hadn't even heard that name all year. And McMahon's going on for a few minutes about how Bobbitt is just this extremely great teammate, one of the best players he's ever been around in his whole coaching career, just going up and down this roster, raving about it. McMahon loves this team. It's a much different energy that I've seen from last year's. You got Pablo Tamba getting the start. McMahon said that's a start there pure off hard work and being a great teammate. He's earned the start over the course of the summer, just wants to help the team in any way possible. Blake, they only missed 14 shots, and of those 14 misses, they grabbed 7 offensive boards. Single-digit defensive rebounds for Tarleton. They shot north of 40% from 3 in their exhibitions, shoot north of 40% from 3 again this game. Ron Zipper's a non-factor right now with an illness. Like, I really like this team. We were wondering, we love the front court. What's going to happen next to Deaton? It looks like it's going to be 6'6" Max McKinnon and 6'9" Markel Sutton with a little bit of 6'6" Rashad King sprinkled in there. Positional size, shooting, good point guard play, rebounding. Blake, I really like this LSU team.
Sam makes the joke that Southeastern 16 now has 16 SEC teams as a 4-seed or better already in the Big Dance. That's right. We're all in. Right now, we put all 16 in the NCAA tournament. Absolutely. And that's okay. We're allowed to do that after 3 days of action. So
this is McMahon's best LSU team he's had.
They're going to be pretty good, I think. And I look at it and feel like, I mean, you brought it up. When's the last time we saw a game where a team had single-digit defensive rebounds? Crazy. I don't remember the last time we saw that. Tarleton, had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds in this game. Very unusual, I think, with that, especially when you're talking about single-digit 9 versus 12. But yes, I again was pretty impressed with LSU. I think you mentioned, I think sort of they got a lot of good size on this team, and that's it. Multiple positions, and I feel like they feel like a pretty good chemistry team early. Felt like the chemistry was there watching them play, and these guys seem to play well together. And again, the opponent matters, but I still thought that they were pretty impressive here. And for me, like I said, I think having Jalen Reed back is going to give them a different dynamic this season, especially once you get into SEC play, just because I remember, and they brought up a lot on the broadcast last night, like we just cannot forget what this guy was doing before he got injured last year. The 21-13 game that he had in that triple overtime game against UCF, Started off the season, big game. Like he was going to be a guy that was going to play 25 plus minutes in that rotation. And excited to see him back, and excited to see how the backcourt continues to pan out here, just the perimeter play and all that. So good performance from LSU to open the season there in Baton Rouge. LSU's upcoming schedule, I mean, probably easily the favorite, and probably the next. I mean, they'll be the favorite in their next 6 games at least. Yeah, well, probably 6, because after that they're going to get Texas Tech on a neutral court. Then they got SMU. But yeah, they'll be a favorite in their next 6 games, which includes a road trip to Boston College, a neutral court game against Drake. But still, I think LSU is going to be sitting in a pretty good spot probably a month from now. All right.
One more quick thing before we move on. Mike Nwoko had 11 and 8. But McMahon said that he was like, I'm going to come out and just tell you guys. He's like, I already spoke with Mike. I was not happy with his performance. So if Matt McMahon is not happy with 11 and 8 in 18 minutes, he did have some silly turnovers and fouls, some sloppiness mentally. But if 11 points and 8 rebounds in 18 minutes is disappointment, keep signing me up for this LSU team.
Yeah. Yep, they had 15 turnovers. That's probably something that he'll point out, I'm sure, with that. But all right, Mississippi State was the other team that played, and for a little bit there, this was quite interesting. But Mississippi State just completely dominates the final 10 minutes or so of this game, and what basically outscored North Alabama by 20. But it's a close game up to that point. North Alabama was up 9 with 16 minutes left in the second half. And Mississippi State just turned it on. Max, what do you know? Josh Hubbard with 27 in this one. Jabari McGee with 14. Played a lot of guys. I don't think that's a surprise, but they played a lot of guys in this game. I think they played 11. Played 10 of them at least 10 or more minutes. So that was interesting to me, just to kind of see the rotation stuff from Mississippi State. And I think you could tell, as that game was going on and North Alabama had all the momentum, seemed like Chris Jans was really trying to figure out exactly what rotation was going to work out to kind of push things forward. They found it, and 19 offensive rebounds just dominated the glass in this game. But score probably a little bit misleading in terms of where this thing was early in the second half, but also I don't know that that's a bad thing, because Mississippi State really, really just found the groove and kind of turned it on.
Yeah, they're down 42-50 at one point, and Jans didn't call the timeout. Let them keep playing. They figured it out on their own. One thing he did say was that when things were getting tough, there was 2 voices that were just louder than everybody else's in the huddles. It was Sean Jones, of course, senior leader, and it was Josh Hubbard stepping up as well, being a vocal leader, getting things going. Josh Hubbard actually did a little some press time, and he said he was actually more happy with his 8 assists, no turnovers, than his near 30 bomb of points. Hey, we had like a who's overrated question a few weeks ago, and Hubbard's name got brought up. If he's driving to the tin like this and he's dishing out 8 assists, no turnovers, or something along those lines of a very improved assist to turnover ratio, you can throw those overrated remarks as far as you can throw them. This is going to be a new Josh Hubbard. This is going to be a new and improved Josh Hubbard, a more mature Josh Hubbard, because that's what Mississippi State needs. One more thing, Blake, Amir Ali, we were kind of like, man, he really came on strong in the Pac-12, or not the Pac, the Big 12 last year as a freshman for Arizona State. Man, he can fill it up. Didn't play at all, and that's not an injury. That's a coach's decision. That's a coach's benching. Jan said that he did meet with Ali and said, hey, keep working. We're going to get through this. But that is a defensive decision. There's other guys on this team that have been fighting effort-wise and versatility defensively, and I guess that is where Amir Ali has got to do a little bit of improving. So that's no injury there. That is kind of a guy we thought was going to have a big impact on this team. That seems like he's got a little bit more defensive work to get on the floor.
Jaden Epps only played 15 minutes too, 5 points, 1 of 5 from 3, just struggled to kind of make shots. Again, kind of fascinated to see how that dynamic plays out with just the guard rotation, like you said. I think Hubbard, I'll go ahead and make the prediction now. I don't think it's I think he's going to lead the SEC in scoring. I don't see any other way. I just feel like this guy is going to put up the most points. But like you said, if it's one of those two where he's averaging 7 assists or 6 assists or something per game, that's going to be a good thing for Mississippi State. And so, yeah, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And I think just seeing how the rest of the guard play around him continues to shake out, I feel like that's going to be one of the stories for Mississippi State, because you know what happens once we get into SEC play. I mean, really any other game they play. It's going to be as soon as the one coming up in Sioux Falls against Iowa State. Ooh. They are going to defensively game plan against Josh Hubbard, and that's where if you have some of these elite defensive teams, then what do you do if you're Mississippi State? And that's where I think seeing some of these guys step up in a game like this, good start, but once the competition takes a step forward, which, like you said, it's not a bad North Alabama team. Like we saw that, not at all. But once you get into playing the Iowa States and SMU and Memphis, teams like that are on their non-conference schedule, maybe you start to tweak a few more things and see how it plays out all the way around Mississippi State. So,
one interesting development coming out of this game is the amount of minutes for Jamarian Davis Fleming. Now they just call him Jamar, so I'm just going to call him Jamar because that's what everybody else calls him. So Jamar Davis Fleming, Jan said, is our best pick and roll defender. His athleticism, his defense, his ability to switch and guard different positions, they love it. The staff absolutely loves his defense. I'm telling you right now, get ready for Jamar Davis Fleming to be a double-digit minute per game guy for Mississippi State in support behind Ballard and Achor in this front court, because his athleticism and versatility defensively, it's going to keep him on the court. They like him too much.
All right, so the SEC, a clean sweep on Wednesday nights. And before we get into looking ahead to Thursday night's action, let's tell you about our friends over at the Yearly Company, Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning. Got the solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones, made to measure for a perfect fit, and backed by a lifetime guarantee. As you know, every Yearly Company bangle custom size, so knowing your size, the most important step before you order. Husband out there, hassle-free holiday shopping. All you got to do is get that sizing kit 100% off. It's free over the Yearly Company if you use the code SC16KIT. SC16KIT, 100% off at checkout. Put that in, you get a free sizing kit from the Yearly Company. Also, ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting. SEC25 is the code there for 25% off. Over at ROKFORM, SEC25, 25% off. All right, let's continue on and look ahead to Thursday, and then we'll get to some of your questions. Remember, Super Chats help support the channel. Joining the membership also helps support the channel. And let's look at Thursday night's schedule, Max. The defending champions are back in action after the loss to Arizona. Florida's going to host North Florida, who I know was pointed out in the chat a minute ago. Did beat South Carolina to start the season last year. They get an angry Florida team here who I believe is favored by 40-plus points in this game. And we'll look at the lines here at FanDuel in just a second. Auburn's going to host Merrimack, and Texas A&M is going to host Texas Southern. But, Max, before we jump into it, let's get those lines from FanDuel. Let me pull these up real quick, and it is going to be Florida. That number now is set at 41.5. Excuse me. It's at 40. It's 41.5. Auburn, 23.5. That number has gone down, by the way. That was 24.5. It's 23.5 here for Auburn against Merrimack. And Texas A&M, 30.5 against Texas Southern. Where should we start, Max Barr?
Well, why don't we start with the defending champs, the Gators, playing North Florida. Now, Blake, do you know who the coach of North Florida is?
Yes.
You would say Matt Driscoll, right? He's been the coach for the last 15 years. No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, folks.
He's back in Kansas State. Yeah.
Yep. So Bobby Keenan is the new coach, and he was an assistant at North Florida absolutely forever. So I think we'll still get the same. I think North Florida, they must, like, in the summer just say, like, okay, folks, we're going to try to shoot the most threes in the country. And it doesn't matter if we win or lose. We're just, every year, we're going to go out there and we want to be the number one most high volume 3-point shooting team. If it doesn't translate to win, so be it. We're going to be number 1 in 3-point volume because that's pretty much what they've done the past few years. So I think it'll be a similar North Florida with Kennan being an assistant for a long time at North Florida.
Well, and as you know, in North Florida, they never back down from playing about the most ridiculous, toughest schedule they can play. And that is the case here when you talk about their first 2 games of the season are at Florida and at Tennessee next week. So off to a pretty brutal start. Although this one's not as daunting, I think, as some of the recent ones. They are going to play the Zags, Dayton, but yeah, they've got a lot of road games on there at Miami. But yes, a tough start to this slate. And I mean, if we look at kind of North Florida, where they're projected, those things, I mean, like we said, this game's 41.5 for a reason. Blue Ribbon had them picked last in the A-Sun. I think it's clearly a team that is going to be trying to figure some things out. Ken Palm has them at 343. Again, for reference, Maryland Eastern Shore was 356. Florida's going to win big here. That's my projection. I don't know if I'm going to go with the Rock Lock for 41.5. I don't like to do that often, but it's very feasible, I think, with the Gators. And what's interesting about that, Max, is Ken Palm has this as like a 35-point game, and the number is at 41.5. So I don't know if, there's probably a variety of reasons for that. Usually I don't think that number goes up that much between Ken Palm and especially early in the season. So I think Florida will be. I think, though, it is worth pointing out, like, this is a team they should handle, as pointed out by the spread. But I think you want to see just exactly some of those things. Like, you want to see the front court come out with a little bit of an edge. I think you want to see them hit a few more open shots and hit some free throws. That'd be good, too.
Just go out there and drill them, for crying out loud. Yeah, so I'm looking at the betting splits right now on VSiN. 91% of the handle, 93% of bets on Florida. That is why you're getting a big difference between Vegas and Ken Palm. People are really digging in on the Florida bounce back to, beat up on a low major after the first game. So that's why you're getting that big spread difference.
Yep. All right. Big hitter, EJ. And that will be our emotional support dolls tonight. Sean's going to go with the full-on John Kreese, no mercy here. $2 super chat. Todd Golden.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it may look something like that. If you're a Florida fan, that's what you want it to look like, I think, for sure. All right, A&M and Texas Southern, Max. Pretty good start to the Buckyball era. Scored 98 points, more than they scored last year. And yeah, I think you probably would expect more of the same here for A&M. Texas Southern still coached by Johnny Jones. They went to the Zags on Monday, lost by 55. So I would expect Texas A&M to probably name their score here in terms of what they're able to do in this game.
Yeah, Texas A&M's projected team total for this game is 90 or 91, depending on what analytical site you look at. Give me 100 plus. Give me 100 plus in this one. Texas Southern under Johnny Jones always runs, always gets up and down. I don't think they've only been sub 100 in tempo 2 times in his 7-year Texas Southern stint, Johnny Jones. So hey, you're gonna get a mid-major with a poor rebounding defense against Buckyball, who wants to absolutely fly. Texas Southern wants to fly. Give me 100 plus here for Texas A&M. I think they absolutely run it up.
All right, and then Auburn plays Merrimack. Merrimack, a team, Blue Ribbon had them picked, I think, 6th in that conference in the Metro Atlantic, which is not bad. And I know Auburn fans don't want to hear that. This is not a bad team because we kind of said the same thing about the last matchup, although Bethune-Cookman significantly better in terms of the Ken Palm number than Merrimack, who's at 278. I know one of the things for Merrimack, they want to play a little bit faster. Haven't done that necessarily off the bat, although their average offensive possession length in that first game against South Dakota State, they lost 75-66, was 15.5 seconds. That's in the top 85 nationally. So I think you'll want to see a team here. I know Joe Gallo wants to get up and down the floor a little bit more than they did last year. They were also a team that was very reliant, Max, on their starters. They didn't play a lot of guys off the bench this year. I think they feel like they have a little more depth. So I say all that to tell you about Merrimack, but the story here is Auburn. And how do they respond? I think that's as big of a storyline this week as any. The Florida response is one thing, the Auburn response is another, based on the opponent. And I think this is one to me where Merrimack is kind of at that level where if they come out and play well and Auburn doesn't play well, it's going to be a game again. But I still think, man, this has got to be about the response from Auburn, taking nothing away from the fact that they found a way to win that game against Bethune-Cookman. But you just want to see a much more focused and sort of, I think, disciplined effort here from the Tigers.
Joe Gallo's a really good coach. He is a really good coach. I mean, he always loads up their non-conference. This year, a little bit less than last year, and that should tell you a little something. If you look at Merrimack's non-conference this year, you get Auburn and Florida as your only high major games. If you go to last year, you can tell Joe Gallo felt a lot better about his squad. He played, VCU, Rutgers, Butler, Stanford, St. Mary's, all these top 100 analytical teams. So you can tell he loaded up the non-conference a little bit more last year. Probably doesn't feel as good about the squad this year. Blake, Merrimack was playing a 6'5" player at the 4 for the majority of the game last night. 6'7" center. The tallest player they have is 6'8". The tallest player they'll play 1 through 3 is 6'3". Very short team.
Ton of offensive rebounds for South Dakota State, and that's where I was going to go in terms of you're looking at matchup-wise. Auburn should just – they have to take care of their business on the glass in this game. They should. I think that's where they probably win it, is just being able to control that aspect. But, again, this is not one that's 30-plus or 40-plus, right? It's a low 20s type spread, and that's exactly what we saw. I think Auburn will bounce back and be just fine here. We've seen this before. Teams have one of those games that gets their attention, and then everything is okay. Will Auburn look the same, as they did last year at this point? We can already tell maybe not, but I think they'll bounce back and be fine here. I
think you play Sebastian Williams-Adams, Philip Jovic, Oparum. Get all your big guys that aren't going to be that's not Sean Murphy and Sean Hall. Get them all as many minutes as you can in this game against a good team who's really undersized. You get Jovic as much confidence as you can in this game. Get Freeman as much confidence. Get the big guys that are going to need to support Murph. Get them going. This is the perfect game to do it.
I agree. All right, so that is the Thursday night slate. Again, we will talk a bit more about, kind of looking ahead and all that. Kentucky and Valpo tomorrow. Ole Miss and UL Monroe, Missouri and SEMO, and then, as we said, Saturday's a pretty big slate. St. John's in Alabama. You've got Vanderbilt, UCF, Michigan State, Arkansas, Zags, Oklahoma. So we'll be doing previews for some of those games in individual videos here on the channel, give you some thoughts and picks for those particular matchups as well. Those will be coming up, again, maybe later today, but maybe tomorrow also, just depending on Max and I's energy level. So we'll do our best here on those. So, all right, we're going to turn it over to you guys. Oh, yeah. Well, yes.
We've got member stuff.
Oh, yeah. Member stuff coming soon. So, all right. Turn over to you guys. What do you want to talk about here as we wrap up here in about 10 minutes or so? Give us your thoughts on any questions you have. I'm going to go back to Alan's from earlier. I did star this one. I know you guys talked about the Cats yesterday.
Yep.
Quite an interesting reaction, I thought, to talking about their defense and all that. But look, I think Alan's question is concerned about Kentucky's shooting numbers. I have seen this posted multiple times, including in our comments on YouTube, about how look, it's fine. You get the wrong channel. But at no point in this offseason did Max Barr and I hype up Kentucky as being a great three-point shooting team. In fact, we were the complete opposite. And I've seen some comments saying, man, you guys hyped them up as the best shooting team. That is a complete fabrication. Because if anything, we have been the guys who have said all offseason, based on Max's numbers, he crunched the numbers, gave you the data, this was not going to be a good shooting team for Kentucky. It was not going to be, period. And so, will they have some good shooting games? Yes, they will. But if you're comparing this team to last year's team, or even the year before, last year of Cal where they finished, number one in the country in three-point shooting. I don't think so. Max, we've kind of said this is going to be a team that needs to get the free throw line a lot this season because they're not going to be a great shooting team. And I know it's one game, but I mean, you can kind of tell. Like, I just don't think this is going to be a team that's going to light up the scoreboard from three this year. And that's why I think if you want to have a hesitation with Kentucky, that's different than anything we've really seen for Mark Pope. He's usually having teams that shoot the ball pretty well, and his best teams have shot the ball really well. So we're going to see how it plays out.
I don't think either one of us in the past 6 months have ever said this is going to be an elite three-point shooting team for Kentucky. I don't think that has ever come out of our mouths over the past 6 months. In fact, I think it was in June or May when we did our Kentucky deep dive where we spent like 25 minutes specifically saying that's not what this team is going to be built on. It's going to be defense, physicality, rim rate, free throw rate, which they need to start making their free throws if they're going to get there a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was never in the picture. So people that are surprised that this isn't a elite three-point shooting team just didn't do your homework.
Yeah, it's not the same makeup, and like I said, they're going to have guys that'll knock down shots. I mean, yeah, Colin Chandler goes 4 of 7, shot it well. But I think when we look up at the end of the season and you're going to look at these averages, like you're not going to have as many guys, I think, who are stepping out making shots from the perimeter, and that's why I think you're going to see a team that's going to have to attack more. And again, that's not unlike anything we've said all summer. We did a show every week pretty much during the summer. Like, that was a theme that was brought up many times. And so, again, though, it's one game. I mean, I'm not going to completely overreact to anything, really, for me. But I just, I think that's what we're going to see Kentucky this year. How do they play a little bit different than they did last year? They're going to have to, I think, with this roster. But we'll see. We'll learn more in some of these primetime type games, Louisville and Michigan State, Carolina, North Carolina, Zags, Indiana, all these tough non-conference games. That's where I think we really find out what Kentucky's made of in terms of how they're going to approach things, because it's going to be different than it was last year.
It's going to be like slowly frustrating throughout the season, but you're not going to have this massive 3-point volume variance throughout the season where you make two for 20 in a first half in one game, and then the next game you've got double-digit threes made at halftime, and it's like, can we just get some consistency here? You're gonna have a bunch of consistency. It's just the consistency might not be 3-point baskets. It's gonna be in other areas of the game that Kentucky is still extremely elite at, almost best in the nation at. It's a different makeup.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know. Everyone else thinks we said otherwise. I just wasn't watching the right show, I guess. I don't know, Alan. We got to figure out what's going on. We got to figure it out. All right. Anyways, all fun aside, here's a question from Sam. Do I sell my Jacoby Gillespie stock? Guys looked awful against Duke and Mercer. I wouldn't be selling my Jacoby Gillespie stock just yet. I don't think so. That's a little bit too early for me. He hasn't made shots. Like, it had some turnovers. I get it, but I think it's more so about Tennessee figuring things out than Jacoby Gillespie figuring things out. Yes. I think Tennessee is very clearly still a work in progress, and I know you're not going to like it, Sam, when I say this next sentence. Tennessee is very clearly a work in progress offensively. So yeah, not where you want to be. I know, because that's been a phrase that has scared the daylights out of Tennessee fans for years, but it's true. I think we got a lot to learn about Tennessee in terms of what's going to work the best for them offensively.
Yeah, it's because Tennessee's figuring everything out around Gillespie, so it's like, put Gillespie in there and then let's just, try this around him, try this around him, try that around him. Whereas last year, you guys remember, it was the Crab 5. I mean, that was as rock solid of a 6-7 man rotation as you can get. So just give it a little time. He's going from playing with basically the same 4 guys on the floor every single game to Tennessee is really trying to figure out who's going to be the guy next to him.
Yeah. I think they'll be okay. But yeah, they're sorting some things out offensively. Very obvious, I think, early on.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean asked, did Florida really lose its edge when they lost Denzel Aberdeen and gained Boogie Flan?
No.
Sean, I just think Florida got beat by a better team the other night.
Yep.
And I know not everyone's going to agree with that, but I just thought Arizona was better. And, long term, does that turn out to be the case come March? I don't know. But as it stands right now, I mean, I think Arizona was just better. Now, I think, again, as we said the other night, you could also make the argument that, hey, well, Florida missed this many shots, whatever it was, 23s, 10 free throws, whatever the number was, and they only got beat by 6. Well, yeah, that's the argument we made, but still at the same time, right? That's the game. Like, you got to make shots, and they didn't, and Arizona did, and so Arizona played better, in my opinion, throughout the entirety of that 40 minutes. Florida got off to a great start, but I don't know that it's Florida losing their edge. I think Florida, to a different extent maybe, is just like Tennessee in that they are a work in progress offensively. And I think you're just, one of the things I pointed out, Max, was I just thought you could tell in some of those scenarios outside of Tommy H, there was a lot of passive play. And it was guys looking for someone else to make the play. Whereas I think if Boogie Flan decides he's going to be the guy that makes the play, and, if he has that more aggressive approach, then I think that's exactly what Florida needs. But like I said, how many teams started their season playing a team like Arizona? I mean, that's a great team. And so I just think that's a tough opening game. And will we learn anything about Florida tonight? I don't know, unless they struggle. But I still just think to me, it's there are some things that are going to look different than they did last year just based on the makeup of the roster in the backcourt. But I wouldn't go as far as to say they lost their edge just by adding Boogie Flan, because I think, it just, to me, that was a bit more about Arizona than it was Florida. But
if Boogie Flan hits that 3-pointer at the very end there from the corner after the steal, if he just makes that, all the talk is, now Florida, national title contender, Boogie's the guy, but, I think the story, coming out for me of this was one, like you said, Arizona, fantastic team, and they're a bad matchup for Florida. They're an extremely tall team with an extremely high free throw rate. You had Rubin, 5 fouls in 17 minutes. Condon foul trouble. A lot of Boogie foul trouble. It's a lot of foul trouble that Florida had to deal with. Any team that really relies on front court dominance when they play Arizona, going to be a tough game. It's just, that's going to be how Arizona plays. But you shoot 66% from the free throw line, 25% from 3. You turn the ball over 15 times to only 15 assists. Your big guys are fouling out. Jaden Bradley puts up 27. You only lose by 6 points in Vegas on kind of like a semi away.
wow.
Let's come down, folks. Let's relax here.
But as Big Gator EJ says too, and we pointed this out the other night, like semi away, it was almost a true road game for Florida. And that's not, again, not knocking Florida fans like who were in the building. Like, it's just Arizona was very well represented there. But I will say this, like, and I think Sean's right. It's like asking the question because Aberdeen was, he was a just go after you type guy.
Yeah.
And it did look like Boogie Flan was a bit more passive in game one. And I don't disagree with this either, Sean, in that the future will look a little more bleak if you have your two primary guards that are very both passive, right? Because then you're required at that point to have your big guys create on their own and do that, right? And I just don't know if that's a formula for success. Again, Tommy H can kind of do anything. He's the Michael Jordan of this era, Max Barr, as we were told in the comments the other night. But I think you definitely need these two guards being, again, a bit more of the, not even like takeover type guys, the way that Walter Clayton was. You just need a little bit more of that aggressive play. And that's the thing, right? People are going to try to compare the two. Like, I think Xavier Lee's going to be fine. There wasn't really anything in that game that I looked at and said, oh boy, this could be trouble with him. And I don't say that about Boogie Flan either, but I think Lee was the one getting maybe more questions coming into the season, and I thought he fit in fine. It was just a matter of, again, there were a couple times where I thought he was looking to get someone else in position to make the play when he could have made the play. And, but that comes with, I think, more experience with this particular roster and stuff too. So
I do think that this roster might be a little bit more top heavy, where last year you could bring a little bit more quality depth off the bench, but also give him a little bit of time. Give CJ Ingram some time. What kind of player is CJ Ingram going to be in a month? He looks pretty dang athletic out there. Hits his first three. Looks like his offense is still coming along, but at 6'6", 205, he looks like he plays like he's 6'8". We haven't seen some other guys, so I'm not putting any negative overreaction on Florida just yet.
All right, couple more questions before we hop off. Sam, you're not going to be happy about this, but your guys, Jay Greason and Chris Lee, actually started the members show about 10 minutes ago, so you might want to go hop in that one because I know you hate us. So go check out the members SEC football weekend preview. We kind of had to overlap today. We rarely do that, but all of our schedules, we kind of had to overlap our streams today a little bit. So if you want to go jump into the members football weekend preview, you can do that here at any time. So we're about to hop off shortly, and you guys can head on over there to talk football. Although many of you in here who support certain basketball teams probably don't give a damn about your football teams heading into this weekend, which some teams are off anyways. But I'm just saying, some of you I know are not exactly thrilled with where your teams are at. Okay. Holly asked you, before I get to that one, Big Baller Brett did say earlier, he's going with the full-on prediction. Alabama's going to win. LeBaron Philon takes over MSG. That's his prediction.
That would be something.
That's one I don't know who I'm picking in that one yet, Max. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a couple other SEC games on Saturday. I already have my picks ready. But I don't know who I'm picking in that one. Alabama St. John's. Not sure.
Johnny's will be favored by probably like 4.
Yeah. All right. Holly's question was, how do we feel about the D1 exhibitions? Does it water down the non-conference schedule? Some positive, negative, neutral.
Like the 2 games that teams played before the season?
Yeah, so the 2 exhibitions.
Does it have just like a negative or positive impact on the non-conference?
I think, to me, it may be like it has more negative or positive impact on the reaction to the team.
Yes.
Meaning, I think sometimes those can completely set unrealistic expectations when you have to go into these knowing that these are not actual games. These are games that are very, in some cases, structured, and by both teams to make sure they are able to work on this or work on that, and like they are. I mean, and I know exhibitions are different than secret scrimmages, right? Scrimmages, you get a little more of that than you do just in straight up exhibition games. They are games, right? But I don't know. I hesitate to be like, teams aren't trying to win, Max. They are trying to win these exhibitions. Of course they are. But I feel like it can set unrealistic expectations that what you're seeing in an exhibition game is going to be the thing you see once you get into playing these games for real in the non-conference, because there are so many other things that are being experimented with, tweaked, like all that in exhibitions that you don't necessarily get once you get into playing these games, weeks later.
Yeah, I don't think I have a super strong opinion. I guess it depends on how it impacted your team. If the exhibition set you up for some unrealistic expectations, and now in the first or second game you're like, what the heck? Why did I get so excited? Probably has a negative impact. If you want to flip it, you're probably saying, I love these exhibitions. Keep them coming. So, I personally, I like them. I mean, give me more college basketball. Give me more hoops to talk about. I love it, but I can see how from an expectation standpoint, it can skew things.
I think it's a positive for coaches for sure and players.
Yeah.
But I think the negative side comes to just expectations to me.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, last question. Any word on why Alex Lloyd didn't play?
There goes the phone. That's an average for the show.
I got nothing, Max.
I didn't find anything. I could try to do some quick on the fly searching, but I think it was just didn't have a spot for him. I think Urban took his minutes.
We'll find out maybe tonight. We'll see what it looks like for the Gators. But All right, guys, we're going to hop off. We appreciate you as always. Again, we'll TBD on our schedule the rest of the week. But again, you will be getting something in terms of previewing the bigger games on Saturday. We'll be doing a reaction. I think tentatively our plan, Max, is to do a reaction Saturday night to kind of, since it's such a big day of games, and I know that's football too, but we'll structure it around football and all that. And yeah, so again, TBD on our schedule for the rest of the week, but you'll get plenty of, trust me, you'll get plenty of game previews, reaction, all that. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, turn on your notifications so you know we have new videos going up and or go live here on the channel. Check out our friends over at FanDuel if you want to get in on that 41.5 point phenomenon for the Gators tonight. You can bet responsibly on that. But yeah, we appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.